What is up, everyone? This is Sarah G, and it is GenZ-Gab. We are back. It has been a long time, and there is a lot of things that I have been going through, and now you get to sit back and enjoy, as usual, the whole shit show of my life, pretty much. So let's get into a lot of things. Monday Mood is basically just anything that's going on in the world between the whole SAG-AFTRA strikes ending, then the next whole thing about Palestine, Gaza versus Israel. And again, I won't be talking too much about that for a variety of reasons, but also just the whole situation in and of itself is not very good at reporting one side, and given just the whole catastrophe that happened within it, just shows how very little Western media has knowledge based around it and how much we treat different people versus kind of our own. And it's a very never-ending cycle. I am still learning. I'm trying my best to, understand it all. Be critical is all I can say of the government on both sides of the situation. Don't get mad at the innocent lives. And the reason I might be talking a tiny bit more about the whole Gaza-Palestine stuff is just because they need to be talked about more, okay? That's all I'm gonna say. Separate note, please go and support Phil's Coffee if you live in the California area. You can follow them online, etc., but they definitely are a good group of people to look at. So yeah, moving on to more things that I have, real things to say truthfully and cognitively about. That is the SAG-AFTRA strike and the WGA. I was very much so excited about just being a part of this movement, even though I'm non-union and all this stuff, as well as the fact that this podcast is actually SAG related now, but not in the way that you think it is. It's a micro situation. But yeah, I talked about that a little bit earlier before I did this little 5-month leave. But between that, a job that I had, I just wanted everything to kind of settle down, collect my thoughts, give myself a mental health check-in, because as a lot of people know, I have ADHD, I have anxiety. I'm a constant stressor. As you can see how I talk fast, I talk slow. You never really know which way it's gonna go for me. And we're in Scorpio season, and I'm dealing with a lot of things where my birthday's coming up in 9 days, I guess, from now. Days coming up. It's coming up in about a week. I'm turning 26, and I don't really give a shit who hears it. Everyone acts like Gen Z is all over about our age. No, we're just more making really self-deprecating humor that not a lot of other people have done beforehand. But also, it doesn't really matter. It's not that I don't feel, for starters, sometimes I don't feel my age, and I think that that's very good. But I think I've just been in a wall zone of, I don't feel like I should be at this point in my life. But then, when Matthew Perry's character Chandler Bing comes on and I watch and I see I'm a lot like that more at my point in life. And yes, rest in peace. I'm still reeling in from that. Before anyone says too much about it, let me just say this. I think looking back, you never really know which one you're going to wind up as the adult version. But now looking through a lot of things in life, you're like, oh God, I was so much like Chandler. And Chandler, what makes him so real is his anxiety, his, wanting to be there for his friends, but just kind of always being authentically himself. And I don't know who needs to hear this, but your life is not over. I know I keep saying that, but the problem is I'm also trying to not, live at my parents' house anymore. Not that I don't love them and all, and not that I don't love what I've been able to achieve here. It's just like this. And now I've been also hitting a little bit of depression because I had a different job and I'm a freelancer. So now I gotta go and find more work, and it took me 3 years just to find this job. So now it's all over the place. But that's kind of what preps me for also being in the whole content world, because you never know when your next job is, or you never know what this is. And people keep saying to me, why do you want to do this? Because every time you try to do something more typical with the way of life, it still doesn't work. I've learned that since COVID. I think that we all need to kind of sometimes take a step back and see kind of what our aspirations are and how to make the dream of the aspiration come true. And I know that that sounds very dumb or, very plausible or whatever. I know that it doesn't sound super logical, but hey, that's why you're listening to this podcast, because nothing I say is super logical. Like, I have my thoughts, I do this, but I keep the buts, I keep the ums, I keep it real with you people. I don't have a big editing team. I am doing this all by myself, and I'm an insomniac. So yeah, I could make it as perfect as can be, but as long as you have clear audio and some music, heck, that's what we're doing here. And I think that, as long as production, it shows the different levels of production. But if you're someone who self-produces a lot of things, I applaud you. I start to even think about, I was rewatching Frasier a lot lately because I've actually watched the new season, but how much of a badass is Ross? How much is a badass is Daphne? All these things that go on and on and on. But yeah, KFN from the Frasier show where he used to do, I'm listening, and all that stuff. That's Roz controls everything. She's his whole producer, production, all that stuff. She doesn't have an assistant. She doesn't have anything else. And you know what? She is amazing. That's why she worked so well with Frasier for the longest time, and that's why by the end of the 11th season, she became a studio head. It should be interesting to see how Alice is as an adult. And I'm just gonna say it, if you're ever looking for an adult version, if the actress is not available, hit me up, because I'm a big fan, and I'm just saying, I'm of right age, probably around the right height. It is what it is, but I know that that's just a long shot. And Sarah, there's a strike that just ended. Why are you begging for work again? Here's the thing. I don't know. That being said, though, you wonder why so many people do podcasts all of a sudden, or audiobooks or whatever. It's because they grew up watching shows like Frasier and the reruns, and suddenly it became a thing where it's like, you can do that. It would be interesting to see also, though, Frasier in his new show, how he feels about podcasters and Gen Z and millennials, because he's now kind of taken over that role of Martin. Now he's still bougie as hell and pretentious snob, but it just would be very interesting. So that is a little bit of a catch up. This podcast is not going to be very long because yes, I've been gone for a while, but I also know that it's a lot of time, a lot of energy, and not just for you, but for me. And I think that at the end of the day, we all want little short snippets. None of us want really long things anymore. I just realized that's why so many of us pay for, not having ad breaks. We want to finish it quicker. And that's where it's another sad thing about the whole thing about streaming. And I could get into AI, but let's save that for another week. But the whole thing about streaming that's kind of where I can see what is kind of annoying. Oh yeah, Siri. Technology is great, by the way, people. I love everything about it. It is the best thing that has ever happened. And I really want people to know who don't get sarcasm that, yes, I think it's the best thing that ever happened, but no, I don't think that it can replace humans to 100%. No doubt about it, considering the whole fact that that's what the fight about AI was. And I'm so grateful that, writers got a lot of say in that, and that if you're curious about what AI is doing in the whole situation with SAG-AFTRA, please note that you should follow people like Jason Winston George from Station 19, but he was one of the strike people who was on there every day, as well as so many others. I just wish I could give a list, but now my brain is getting shot as I try to list off every single person. So I think that we're better off if I just keep, rolling. Please follow SAG-AFTRA, SAG-AFTRA Foundation, and, you can find all the people along with it that have a lot to say. And again, Justine Bateman is another person who talks a lot about this stuff with AI, just so that you don't get tripped up on your contract. And yes, again, why am I saying this as a non-union person? Here's the thing. I've always been an outside looking in person. I was not super popular. I was chatterbox, and I think about all of my stuff in high school and college and whatever, and just how my life has not changed that much, and that's okay, as much as it might not feel okay. Some of you guys are not going to be hanging out with people all the time, and that's okay. We need to normalize the fact that, some people grow apart, some people never had a lot of friends in the beginning, and people won't really care about your birthday or wish you a happy birthday. And I say that just because even a good person who was on a show mentioned recently, the only person that cares about your birthday are your mama or your parents. And that's so true. And it's not a bad thing. But all you people that are going around posting like your birthday tributes, congratulations. Congratulations. You're still in the 10% of popularity. And I'm grateful you have people in your life that are going around and doing that. I'm not trying to be salty about it, but I'm also trying to say if you sometimes feel like people are so snarky about certain things, well, maybe it's just because they don't have as much of a connection with other people as you do, or maybe their friends live in a different spot. You just never know what people are going through. So yeah, that's another reason why I'm like a little apathetic to turn 26, besides the fact that, the government's now like, you need to pay your own health insurance. And by the way, I totally understand, and I understand that it was 18 at one point and yada, yada, yada. But when you're chronically ill like me, I hate that it means that a lot of things, like for people in America with chronic illnesses, etc., that we have to pay more, we have to do more, and we have to keep up with all the different things, because I'm also looking at getting like a service dog because I have a lot of sensitivities to foods, etc. And I already know that I'm trying to figure out how to, get one of those that's pre-trained, that you have to jump through so many hoops. And again, everything becomes more complicated. And before anyone says, oh my gosh, she looks so healthy, no, I'm not. Just trust me on that. I don't have to justify, and I've been around enough people that whenever I try to explain myself so that they can better understand, I wind up annoying them. And I kind of feel like I'm doing that here too. Thank you, Siri. I turned you off, but yet you're dinging like crazy still. So I don't know what's going on here. But we keep going. You don't know why? Because I don't like to do outtakes that much. I don't find that, showing this perfectly polished and perfection is needed all the time. Now, do I think that it's needed more in shows, etc.? Yes. But do I think it's something like where I'm just like having a conversation with myself? No. And plus, it's like I tried it on Patreon where I would edit everything out and then give you guys the full tea, whatever. And then it was like, it just wasn't working for me. And everybody's trying to hustle these days and it's still not working. And I just want to say to you, if you're someone like me who keeps doing what they're trying to do, and not getting very far, it's okay. Also, podcasts are a saturated market, and now that all the washed up Disney kids and Nick kids are doing one, it makes it even harder. And you can see how salty they are, especially with how the SAG-AFTRA thing. I used to really adore all of them, and then if they're listening to this, I am sorry, kind of, but it's true. Every time, the only one that I listen to is Dear Hollywood now, because that one actually seems like it's trying to get a real message across, rather than just complain about how much you should deserve this, and then you're like, I'm only kidding. But no. Or that you still think you're like the shit because you have this named after you. No. And also the fact that when you go on Reddit, again, yes, Sarah's back to her Reddit rambles, you know it. It's just true. Falling down that hole, seeing all these things, it just shows how different, your lighting can change between just watching them on TV, then hearing them talk online, then seeing them trying to clean up everything, and then, having the people who work on all those, like, Ask Me Anything websites, Ask FM, you name it. And you never know. Again, you gotta know how much you're going to judge, because you have to not judge too much and you have to be objective. But the more that you see, the more that you notice, and the more that you hear people talk, the more you can tell it's like, I don't really like you anymore. I used to look up to you, but now I don't really feel that way about you. And it's fine, it's good, whatever. And you can say that we're just mean, we're just salty, we're just haters. So some of us don't even comment our comments anymore. And I know that it's an up and down, never ending roller coaster ride. But even I think of the hate that I got for when I was asking about a song, I kind of thought it was a sad song. I kind of thought we shouldn't be dancing to it, but I didn't know the whole thing. So I was just making a joke, like I had to do some research. I had to Google it because Google is free. and you start to realize how big of a mistake you did with that one. So, again, I am glad to be back. Obviously, there will be some more roller coaster of emotions, more tears, more whatever coming at you, my ADHD, you name it. And hopefully, like, more guests along the way. But yeah, I'm just gonna ease into this slowly. Thank you for anyone who listened to this because, again, I truly appreciate each and every one of you that takes the time to just listen to a person rant, which I know is still the same old thing, kind of like radio, but you know, you never know what's going to come and go and stay or what's going to be oversaturated or not. And just because you don't, I keep reminding myself this because I want to tell people this. Just because you don't have a lot of followers doesn't mean somebody doesn't appreciate this. It's something I have to constantly remind myself. And, you know, I'm constantly fixing up how my website looks. I constantly have to fix all this other stuff. And not because I want people's approval, because I also realize that this is maybe not what it needs to look like anymore. Everyone's revamping, everyone's reinventing themselves. Like right now, especially, like I've said this, I'm in my healing era, my no people pleaser era, and before anyone says, oh my god, when were you ever... I think ever since I turned like 21, I've just like stopped giving a shit about what other people are doing because it does not do a lot for you. Now, I still sometimes get a little annoyed here and there. Sorry that I have an intense sense of justice like many other neurodivergent people. But just like thinking back to usually like before, and a lot of this is easier said than done. I always remind myself that I could be toxic at times. You know, just constant self-reflection actually does better, I think, than anything else. But I do have to just remind you that sometimes I think that you don't give your neurodiverse friend enough credit. And I just want to remind that to people going into the holidays, maybe with family members, friends, you name it, because it is a lot that's going to go on. And just because I had a big event recently that I helped work with on, I just want to keep that in mind, that like some of the things that we might think we're being sensitive to, we're not actually. We might think that we're educated on, we're not. It's okay not to say everything, but it's also okay that if you start talking but then realize and admit, hey, I was wrong, because that goes a lot better than, you know, getting into a screaming match and thinking that you're always right. So yeah. Also, I'm going to talk a little bit today about how insane it is that I still cannot quite get technology, even though I went to school for it and all that fun stuff. So, yes, this episode's a little bit shorter than usual, and yes, I'm going to have to go on Final Cut Pro, do all that fun stuff. And, you know, you've talked and you've heard yada yada yada, me doing the same old gist of it all. But here's the thing, I just got a new Sony camera. I got a microphone, all this stuff, and yes, before anyone says, Sarah, why are you connected to a microphone? I'm just trying to cover all my bases here. If you're watching the video, vidcast, vlogcast, again, let's please put this poll to a rest. Let's put it to an end. Let's do all that stuff. I want to hear from you guys more. So please, again, comment, like, subscribe. But yeah, do I really need all this stuff? Do I need to right now, especially when I'm trying to save money, because I know that that comes and goes and ebbs and flows. Also, do you want to hear more about my pets? What's going on with them? Also, for anyone who's new here, the whole mouse saga, oh my gosh, Luna has caught like 5 of them since we last were here. I do not know the whole situation. I live in an old house and there is cracks and whatever. So then it's like there's mice that come in, but she's like, do your job. And the past week, after I got home from my business trip, there have been way more, and the glue traps are phenomenal. If you are someone who are worried about like all the stuff, like if a kid's finger is going to get caught in something, or if, you know, your cat or dog is going to get poisoned or whatever, just do the glue traps, maybe some of the snap traps. Be careful with the snap traps. We've caught more with glue traps than others, and it's super interesting. But yes, my cat finally caught one yesterday, and my dad thinks she's too patient. I think she's a little sadistic. I've been telling people this. She literally lets it go, lets it come back, lets it go, lets it come back. Like it's like a toy kind of, but she yo-yos it literally. And then she doesn't eat it because I think she's a little too good for eating them. I mean, one of our cats was a legit assassin who would get the job done immediately. And eat the food or leave the carcass on our doorstep. Yep, that's a way for cats to tell you that they love you. And I know people are going to be very grossed out by this, but then that will also show you the people who grew up in cat homes or the people that have a cat. Now, I like both. I'm still a little bit more of a dog person, but if I ever have a mice problem, I'm definitely getting a cat. And this one that we have currently right now is like a little lap dog. But anyway, this morning my dad came out to me and told me that it was the best thing ever to see her just leave the mouse at the bottom of the stairs. She looks so proud. And he's like, beware of the killer. You mean beware of Miss Instincts? So yeah, it was just very funny to think about that. But then we had one in a mouse trap, one in a glue trap. And by the way, we had caught already like 3 or 4 in a regular glue trap before that. But you know, you're like searching online all these different ways. So I hope that I gave some knowledge to anyone that is curious about these things, because if you have some problems and it's hard to get a quote from exterminators and, you know, all those things, just remember Google is free, YouTube is free, there's a bunch of DIY moments. And that's kind of what is happening right now with ours. So yeah. So until next time, this has been Sarah G with GenZ-Gab. Thank you so much for tuning in, and we will see you soon. Obviously, I talked all over the board. It was not very clear as usual. But as you know, this has been season 3 intro to GenZ-Gab. A way shorter episode than usual, but hey, we're just finding ourselves again. And this will be, you know, a good journey. I think the fact that I took the time, like I said, that I needed to was great. I don't know if I'll be releasing every Monday or every other Monday, but I will keep you posted on that and so on and so forth. And again, we will see you soon.